David Pollack didn't tap the brakes. He didn't soften it for Georgia fans, and he definitely didn't say it like a man trying to protect feelings. He said if Gunner Stockton is the same quarterback he was a year ago, Georgia has no chance to win a national title. That came through Dog Nation after Pollack's recent discussion about the Bulldogs. And what makes it hit so hard is that this isn't coming from some random hot take machine. This is David Pollack, a Georgia name, a Georgia voice, a guy who understands exactly what championship football is supposed to look like in Athens. So when he says no chance, people listen, because that sounds less like noise and more like a warning siren. And the truth is, Pollack didn't just throw a grenade and walk away. He explained what bothered him. According to Dog Nation, he said he saw Stockton grow, saw more touch on the football, saw moments where the ball wasn't being fired through receivers' chests anymore. But he kept coming back to one thing: personality. That's the word. Not arm strength, not mobility, not toughness, personality. Pollack's concern is that Stockton still plays like a quarterback terrified of being the reason Georgia loses. That sounds responsible on paper. On the field, especially in January, it can become a trap. The quarterback who plays not to mess up usually becomes the quarterback who never fully attacks. And if Georgia is trying to get back to the top, conservative football at that spot is a dead end. That's what makes this whole debate uncomfortable, because Stockton's raw numbers from 2025 were not bad at all. According to Georgia's official cumulative stats, he completed 269 of 386 passes, nearly 69.7%, for 2,894 yards and 24 touchdown passes, with only 5 interceptions. ESPN's player page lists his QBR at 84.9, which ranked 6th nationally. And his overall production helped Georgia go 12-2, win the SEC, and grab a first-round bye in the college football playoff. That is not the profile of a disaster. That is the profile of a quarterback who did a lot right, which is exactly why Pollack's criticism lands where it does. He's not saying Stockton can't play. He's saying numbers can hide a ceiling problem, and championship football eventually exposes it. Because when Georgia got into the playoff spotlight again, the ending looked familiar. The Bulldogs have now lost in the college football playoff quarterfinals in back-to-back years. In January 2025, Georgia fell 23-10 to Notre Dame in the Sugar Bowl, and according to the college football playoff recap, Stockton went 20 of 32 for 234 yards and a touchdown in relief of Carson Beck. Then in January 2026, Georgia lost 39-34 to Ole Miss in another Sugar Bowl quarterfinal. According to the official CFP recap, Stockton finished that game 18 of 31 for 203 yards and a touchdown, while Georgia managed just 3 of 13 on third down and got outgained 473-333. So this is where the argument gets meaner. The production is respectable, the finishes are not. That's why Pollack's comments feel less like a personal shot and more like a diagnosis. Georgia is not living in the 8-win world where pretty good quarterback play is enough. Georgia measures seasons by rings, not by decent efficiency. Dog Nation pointed out that the Bulldogs were at their best in 2025 when Stockton played more aggressively, especially late in games. In fact, Connor Riley reported that Stockton completed 83% of his passes in the fourth quarter last season, with 7 touchdowns and no interceptions. Read that carefully. When urgency forced him to loosen up, he looked dangerous. When everything was controlled and careful, the offense could flatten out. That's the core of the Pollack concern. The better version of Stockton exists. The issue is whether Georgia can get that version all game long, instead of only when the scoreboard starts screaming. And Georgia's own staff has basically said the same thing, just with kinder language. According to Dog Nation, offensive coordinator Mike Bobo said before the Sugar Bowl that Stockton had been so worried about not doing anything to cost Georgia that he maybe did not play as free as he needed to in some situations. That's a huge quote, because it matches Pollack almost word for word without the punchline. Kirby Smart and his staff aren't wondering whether Stockton cares enough. They know he cares. The question is whether he can stop carrying that fear into the snap. A quarterback at Georgia can't spend half a second wondering if a miss will get him blamed. Half a second in this league is the difference between a deep strike and a check down, between pressure and panic, between a title push and another long walk off the field. What makes the whole thing even more complicated is that Stockton is walking into 2026 with expectations that are actually huge. ESPN's Mark Schlabach included him in a way too early Heisman conversation, and Dog Nation noted he finished 7th in the Heisman voting after his first full year as Georgia's starter. ESPN and other outlets also placed him among the better quarterbacks coming back into college football this season. So nationally, there is respect, real respect. This isn't some quarterback people think is barely hanging on. He's viewed as talented, experienced, and productive enough to be part of the sport's elite tier. That's where Pollack's line becomes so brutal. He's not arguing that Georgia has a quarterback problem in the usual sense. He's arguing that Georgia has a championship-caliber roster, but that roster only cashes in if Stockton stops playing like he's trying to avoid the one bad throw everybody will remember. And let's be honest, Georgia is not built to hide the quarterback anymore. According to Dog Nation, the Bulldogs are replacing 6 of their top 7 pass catchers and 2 starting offensive linemen heading into 2026. That means the offense is not asking Stockton to just steer the car. He has to be part of the engine. He has to create answers. He has to be the guy who turns 2nd and 8 into 1st and 10 with a throw that comes out on time and with conviction. The old version of Georgia could choke the life out of people and ask the quarterback to manage the edges. This version needs more juice. It needs more initiative. It needs someone who can punish hesitation on the other side of the ball. If Pollack thinks the current version of Stockton still leaves explosive plays sitting on the field, then yeah, that becomes a national title problem immediately. Still, there's another side to this that Georgia fans should not ignore. Stockton did improve. The numbers say that. The tape, based on the way Georgia insiders describe it, says that too. According to Dog Nation, Pollack himself admitted he saw growth in Stockton's touch and overall development. Georgia's official stats show he threw just 3 interceptions all year on 386 attempts, and 247 Sports noted that interception rate was one of the best marks by a Georgia quarterback in recent history. So the idea here is not that Stockton is broken, it's that his next jump has to be internal as much as physical. More anticipation, more trust, more willingness to rip the throw before the picture looks perfect. Quarterbacks who win it all usually don't wait for comfort, they create discomfort for everybody else. That's really the brutal truth inside Pollack's statement. Georgia's future probably is not about whether Stockton can become accurate. He already is. It's not about whether he can function in the offense. He already has. It's about whether he can become dangerous in the moments that separate playoff teams from champions. Against Ole Miss, Georgia blew a 21-12 lead and lost a quarterfinal where Ole Miss threw for 362 yards and converted the game into chaos. Against Notre Dame the year before, the Bulldogs got only 10 points on the board. Those are 2 different losses, but they point to the same pressure point. When the margin gets thin, can Georgia's quarterback tilt the game instead of just surviving it? Pollack is saying that answer has to change or the season ends the same way again. So now it comes down to spring, summer, camp, and then those first pressure games when the talking stops. Georgia does not need Gunner Stockton to turn into a superhero. It needs him to stop playing like every mistake would be a felony. That's the line he has to cross. And if Pollack is right, the whole season hangs on it. Not the defense, not the recruiting stars, not the logo on the helmet, the mindset of the quarterback. If Stockton starts hunting throws instead of avoiding criticism, Georgia can absolutely make another run. If he stays trapped in that safe version of himself, then the harsh quote everybody hated in March might end up sounding pretty generous by January. Drop your take in the comments, hit like, subscribe, and tell me one thing. Is Pollack being brutally honest, or is he flat out wrong?